Hey guys, welcome to the Deal Finders podcast. This is an incredible episode. I've got my friend Bob McIntosh on here, and we're going to talk about how he got his first deal and then how he would recommend you get your first deal today, because his was a long time ago and today is a different market. And we're going to get into some digital marketing and what does it look like to get your online footprint out there and to be consistent. So stay tuned, get a pen and paper. He's going to go deep into this. You want to check it out. This guy's been all over the country buying and selling houses. He's been on TV, different radio stations, commercials, and news broadcasts. He's everywhere, right? So get ready. He's going to go deep into this. You want to pay attention. See you there. All right, Bob. So I know you have traveled the world. You've been everywhere. I don't know where you are today even, but what markets have you actually worked in, and where are you today?
Yeah, so our primary market's been Buffalo, New York. The majority, probably 90%, 95% of our deals happened in Buffalo, New York. That's where I was born and raised, where my parents lived for a long time until really just about a year and a half ago. And we did there. I've also done a few deals in Los Angeles because I lived in LA for a long time. So a little bit of experience there as well. And then, but I've traveled all over this country and actually all over the world and seen deals, vetted deals, helped or been a part of deals in probably all but about 5 or 6 states.
Wow. So all over the place, which should give you some good experience, which we'll touch on in a minute. So, y'all, if you're watching this on YouTube or listening through whatever podcasts, service you use, make sure you like and subscribe and share it with people that might get some value out of this. We're going to dive in real quick on I like to give people some actual steps, Bob. So sometimes it's your first deal. Sometimes it's what you're doing today that helps. So I like to kind of go to the beginning because a lot of listeners are still seeking that first deal, 2 or 3. And I'm going to save my hypothesis because you probably don't know this yet, but I'm going to ask you and see if it stands true. So tell me about your first deal in real estate.
Yeah, so our first deal was end of 2008, and very different time. I didn't know anything about real estate at that point. I'd read some books, so it was just like, yeah, I can figure this out. And connected with an agent that I met through a friend of a friend type deal, and it was a foreclosure house. I don't even remember who owned it. I think it might have been PNC Bank. It was like a Rio, and yeah, we bought it. I used a 2 or 3K loan to get it because I didn't know about borrowing money. That was like, again, very, very different time. And so that was how we found our first deal. And it took me a long time. I want to say like 6 months to like finally pull a trigger on a house that I felt like was the right one. Just because it was a scary proposition back then to go spend. I mean, even then, it was that house, I think I bought it for $175,000. And that was terrifying to me at that point in time. I was like, that's like more money than I could imagine spending on anything as a 27 or 25-year-old or however old I was at that point.
Yeah, it's a big purchase, and we're kind of raised that is the big purchase. Like that's what you strive for, is that home, right? It's really a mindset shift and kind of a change in your whole perception when it becomes just a commodity, which it is now, where you're buying and selling and trading and all that. But all right, so my hypothesis is proven again, that most successful investors, people that are doing this business today, found their first deal right in their own backyard, either through literal backyard, like exactly their community where they live within, walking distance, or through their network. So somebody got a connection. So you had a friend who connected you with an agent, and that agent had a deal, maybe even off the MLS, but you were able to find that deal through your immediate vicinity of your network or your community. So every time I ask this question, and honestly, I should probably write, I don't know if anybody has said anything different. This is how people get started. And in today's world with YouTube, TikTok, everything is out there. It seems like new investors, folks that are trying to get off the ground, are looking at everything else except for what is right in front of them. So that's what we start with, and that's where we tell people is open your eyes, open your ears, and your mouth. Tell people what you're looking for and get out there and actually look for it.
Yep.
Right? So that's exciting for you. 2008, completely different world. I don't even want to. We don't need to dive into all the specifics of that because I know you do some amazing things today, and I want to learn. I want to hear mostly about the digital marketing. So this is going to be a masterclass for me, and our listeners are on. They're in for the ride. So let's jump to what you're doing today in real estate, and then what you're doing in marketing.
Yeah. So at this point, we mostly just do buy and holds. And you really, for us, the market shifted in 2017 in Buffalo, and our profit per deal went down by almost 50% on average, and our time length increased by about 30% on average. And so it just kind of stopped making sense to look at deals as flips. But Buffalo's always been a great buy and hold market. It's fantastic. I think the last one that we bought was an 8-unit single building, divided up it was an old single family house divided up into 8 units. And I bought it for $230,000, needed about $10,000 in repairs. So
what?
Yeah. And rents within a year, we'll have the rents to just shy of $6,000. So, it's for us, we started looking at that going, this makes a lot more sense. Buffalo, just the model there fits this a lot better than it does flipping. So we focus mostly on that. And so for us, I was like, okay, well, if I'm not actively flipping anymore, rentals are great, but you're not making those big checks. Like, you're not gonna live off rentals, at least not for a while. You got to build up a pretty big portfolio of them over time before that begins to make sense. And so I needed something active to earn revenue and make money and live. And so started doing marketing. I was like, well, I did marketing for our company, so why not do it for others? And so a few years ago, started focusing on building marketing campaigns for other investors and for some coaches in the real estate investing space and a few other businesses, but it's mainly in the real estate space. And just help people with that. So I see more of what's working from a digital marketing standpoint, and even just really a marketing standpoint, because obviously even our offline marketing, we usually are going to plug into our online tools like a CRM or our emailing database or other tools to run comps. So your online and offline blend together a lot in that space. And so I see a lot of what's happening there right now too.
Oh, there's so much right here. So I'm taking these notes, and guys, as you're listening to this, watching this, write down, take notes of the things that you don't understand, like the words that he's saying, or like the things that he's talking about. If you don't understand it right now, then those are things that you should be looking for and trying to find the answers to. And maybe we'll get to it. Maybe I wrote them all down. I hope so. First, you said that you started a marketing company because of how you're getting leads for yourself, right?
Yep.
How did online marketing even become a thing for you? Like, that's like, some people, it just doesn't, it's not conceptual. It's like, I should have signs outside, or, wear t-shirts, whatever.
Yeah.
How does that become a thing?
So for us, it was a couple of ways. First and foremost, I come from a tech background, although ironically, I joke now, my tech background hurt me more than helped me. Let me rephrase that. It hampered me more than it helped me, because I was like, oh, I can do this. I know tech. I can do this. Instead of like being the entrepreneur and outsourcing it like I should have, I was the one spending a lot of time doing things. But you live and you learn. So I already kind of, I understood tech. And then at the same time, so our very first deal was in just outside of New York City, 6 miles outside of Manhattan, because that's where I was living at that point in time. After that, we started doing deals in Buffalo because that's where my dad was, and he had more capability of visiting properties, going there, participating in that portion. And in that same period of time, I had moved to Los Angeles. So I was like, okay, well, I'm 3,000 miles away. Now, mind you, this is 2010 at this point in time when we were like really kind of picking up speed, and file sharing on like Dropbox was brand new. Like, the idea of virtual anything was not a thing. Like, it was like, I was like, holy crap, Dad, we can share files back and forth across the internet. This is cool, right? Like, if you think about it, like, we're on iPhone version like 3, I think. Like, video chat was still Skype. FaceTime was not invented. Like, so just to give you perspective, right? So I was like, well, how do I add value in this much more tech limited world of 2010 from 3,000 miles away? And I found 2 things I was good at. First was marketing, especially online, because I can do it from wherever. And the second was raising money, because part of that is, well, when you're in LA and I tell someone I'm buying an entire house and fixing it for under $200,000, and that's a deposit on a house for them, it's a different conversation in many cases. And obviously, people in there's more access to people with deeper pockets in a bigger city. And so it's easier to find money in those ways and help them understand and see the bigger picture. So I got good at those two things. But I used my knowledge and sort of said, okay, well, what can we do to get seen online? And I went down the path of SEO. Paid ads wasn't really a thing at that point in time, and not for real estate necessarily. A little bit, but it wasn't what it is today, where it's a more reliable resource. And so I just said, what can I do to get deals online? And so a lot of our deals came from SEO and our other digital efforts. If I look at over the last, whatever it is, 14, 15 years since we bought our first deal, it's probably about 35 to maybe 40% of the deals that we've bought came from digital marketing. And the majority of that, if I look at it, I don't know the exact number, but the large majority of that came from SEO efforts. Now, for most of you, if you're brand new investors, SEO is not going to be something that you are going to mess with too. Like, it's not going to get you deals today. But in the long term, if you start thinking about it and actively doing it and working on it today, in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, it will become your single best lead source. I actually ended up running the number, and to date, our average cost per acquisition for SEO deals comes out to like $42 per property. Right. Like to buy a house, I'm paying, now, did it start that way? No, it was, at first it might've been a few $1,000s, and then it was $1,000, and then it was $800, and then it was $700, and then five, like over time, because it stacks on each other. But I got good at figuring that out. And even now, even though at this point in time, we don't really actively do SEO anymore in our area, mostly just because people know who we are. We've established ourselves so well that people just bring me deals now. I don't have to do a lot of marketing necessarily. But even still, I'm still showing up for number one in most of the cities that we bought a lot of houses in and still buy in today on Google. At our peak, I was number 1, 2, and 3. But the point that I'm making, and I know because a lot of new investors, like, they start thinking to themselves, well, I'll never get there. And well, you won't unless you start. But also, if you're in this business for the long term, like, you're not just trying to flip a couple houses and go, or you're not just trying to do 1 or 2 houses a year, like, you really want to make this a business for yourself, then it will, like, this effort of online stuff will help you in the long term. But even with what I've done, if I was a brand new investor today, right now, just getting started, and when I say brand new investor, I mean anyone that's done like less than 10 deals, right? To me, that's a new investor. And I would be doing a couple of things. First and foremost, I cannot overstress enough the importance of your website. It's critically important. What's happened in the last 3 years, or almost going on 4 now, I guess it's since COVID started, is you got a lot of what I call fly by the seat of their pants shady investors. These are people who have no idea what they're doing. They didn't formalize any training. They don't listen to great content like this. They don't plug into networks or masterminds. They just read some books or some blog posts, and maybe they bought a course for $50 and they think they know everything. And those people are everywhere now. And because it's very easy for them to get online, send out some marketing, buy a list, and start locking up deals. And the problem with that is this: for new investors, you're competing against all these shady folks that did things incorrectly, that have let deals drop, that have sort of tarnished real estate investing names. And so having your website legitimizes you at a level that it hasn't ever done previous. It always did, but it's a whole different level today, because when someone hears from you and they're considering going with you, the first thing they're going to do is going to go to Google you. And if you don't show up, that's terrible. Or if you do show up and your site looks shady, cheap, chintzy, whatever, they're going to assume that you're shady, cheap, or chintzy or whatever. And that's no good either. Right. Yeah. So I don't care if you've done 0 deals or 10 deals or 1,000 deals. Okay. A website will bring you better deals because people will deepen their level of trust with you, and then will reach out or have a higher propensity to reach out because you seem credible online. That's number 1. Number 2 is follow-up. When I started the game, I remember taking a direct mail course from, I think it was Marina Hauser was teaching it. Now, I don't know if you know who that is or not, but successful investor up in Boston. And she was like, yeah, you got to send out 5 to 6 letters. I remember thinking to myself, I got to send out 5 to 6 direct mail pieces to get someone to respond. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. Well, guess what? Today, the average number of touch points is closer to 14 for motivated sellers, right? So in 14 years of doing this, we went from 5 to 14. Now, The positive is that 14 touch points can be more easily obtained simply because we can automate a lot. And that automation comes from your CRM. It could be posting emails, could be sending text messages, it could be posting content to social media. A touch point now is any time that your message is being seen by somebody. And so even though it requires more than it ever has, it simultaneously is easier than ever if you have the right tools to plug in to increase that. So don't give up. If you're still looking for your first deal, like especially if you're doing it in your backyard, just keep pushing. And even if you're doing MLS deals, I'm gonna tell you right now, we actually ran the numbers at one point a few years ago. I've never gotten a first offer accepted from an MLS deal. Not once, not a single time did we buy a house from the MLS where we were on our first offer. It was always, yeah, no, that's too low. Then they'd get hit by like 5 buyers who'd all fall out. And then they call us back and go, okay, can we chat now? Right. So now we're ready. Touch points. Can't stress that enough. And then the last thing that's so simple, yet again, no one does it, is create yourself what I call a high value social profile. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean that you have to be posting content hundreds of times a day, like most people think. What's more important is you have a professional looking photo. You have the same photo across all your platforms. Ideally, you have the same handle or username across all your platforms. So if you go look for me, you'll find me at the Bob McIntosh, TheBobMcintosh, the Bob McIntosh on every platform: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever. Right? Pick a platform. I'm there. Now, do I post on all these platforms? Absolutely not. No one has time to post on every platform, unless you're Gary Vee. You have a team of 25 people. Right? Then maybe you do. But the reality is you don't have to just be on the platforms, have a professional looking photo, try to have the same username, and just every once in a while, share what you're doing. Talk about what you're looking for. Talk about that. It doesn't have to be frequent. It can be a little bit. Now, obviously, frequency will improve your odds, but if someone gets a mailer from you or a text message or an email or you cold call them or whatever you're doing, right? And then they go Google you and they find your website. And it's like, wow, this is a pretty good looking website. This looks nice. It's high quality. It makes sense. And then on your website, there's your social profiles. And they click there and you look professional. It's the same messaging. It creates consistency. And these 3 things together, these 3 pillars, I call them, will close you more deals in any of your marketing. Whether it's offline marketing, online marketing, paid ads, direct mail, bandit signs, whatever you're doing, those 3 things combined together give you legitimacy over many of these fly by your seat, your pants investors. And you will close more deals just because of that. Now, how many deals? Well, I don't know, right? Like, what are you sending out? What are you doing? There's a lot of variables there, but I know this for a fact. I don't know a single investor that I've taught these 3 pillars to who implemented them, who's not closing more deals today than they were prior to implementing them.
I love it. I love it. Guys, I hope you were paying attention to that. If you didn't, write it down, rewind, and go back through those top 3 things. Website, follow up, automated is beautiful. And then your social profiles is huge. You hit on a few things that we've got to define some terms. So you said SEO a lot, search engine optimization. People that are brand new, it is not the get the deal today. This is the long play, but you've got to start it. Well, you got to start it yesterday. That is the one that has to be started first, even though it's not going to be that first. It's not going to bring the revenue as quick, right? So starting SEO, putting the website out there is so crucial. Our experience is when I was leaving my day job for our home buying business, I started the SEO about 6 or 8 months before we ever put out any marketing. Before we ever put a postcard out there, we set up the website and got the SEO stuff running and churning. So then when we were ready and I left my day job and we were doing this business full time, we were up there and we've been ranked number 1.
And by the way, you got to have a website first to do SEO, just so we're clear. Right. And by the way, real quick, if you didn't know what SEO stand for, now you do. The simple idea of that is just doing specific things that Google wants you to do to get your site to the first position organically without having to pay Google for that position.
Yes. Another thing that we got to hit on, so just in case you're brand new or even some experienced investors don't have a CRM, which is crazy, but it's true. Because you can start this business without these systems, without these, software pieces and everything like that. So a CRM is that database that you will keep every contact, every interaction you have with people, their phone number, email, address of the property. I have to share this tip that you gave at the mastermind the other day. I meant to share it sooner, but where you said when your contact card, like the QR code, you said to put your birth date in there. So whenever you share your contact with somebody, you go on their calendar and it has your birthday in it. I love that. There's such a pro tip.
Super simple.
I'm excited to share that so that other people could do that as well. So yeah, and then we did talk about email database, online, offline. This is getting kind of high level, but this is what you guys do, right, as a digital marketing company and consultants for investors and other people within this space. We can't dive into all that. It's so big. It's so vast. You guys are such professionals at this. I asked you about the story, how you got started, because I think that helps show people how far you've come and, and the need that you were able to identify, and now you can share that with other people. So what would, if you had to say what you guys' service is, what is that one thing that people are like, if you were the best, like if you said we are the best at this, what would that be?
So we're the best at your website, hosting, building, maintaining a professional, good-looking website, and we can do that for a very low cost if you're a new investor, because I get that there's a lot of things you got to outlay cash on, and plugging that into your CRM so that the two tie together, so that whatever marketing you're doing, you can look professional, capture information, and then use that information to do additional marketing.
Love it. All right, that's awesome. So, Bob, we are running short on time. This has been a great podcast. We have so much more. There's so much more there. How can people reach out to you if they have questions? Because I know they're there.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have any questions, you want to chat about digital marketing for your real estate business, the best thing to do is go to go3dc.com. That's GO, the number 3, DC, Delta Charlie, for 3 Degrees Consulting. That's my agency. So go3dc.com/Bob McIntosh, just my name. And on that page, you can add my contact card. It's got my cell phone number, my CRM number, my email address, all my social profiles, and my birthday. So at least once a year, I'm gonna be bling. It's Bob McIntosh's birthday, so you won't forget about me. So yeah, just grab there, and then on that same page, if you want to talk to me specifically, it's always best. There's a little booking link. You can just grab a time right on my calendar, whatever works for you, from that link right there, and I'll be happy to chat about what we can do for you. All I ask is, hey, whenever you fill it out, just let me know that you came from Andrew's Deal Finders Club podcast, and so that I know where you came from and where you heard about me.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. And guys, I would take him up on that. If you are thinking about changing, getting a new website, if you're going down this road, these guys are phenomenal. A lot of people that we are friends with have gone through and used that service multiple times, because you don't just start with one website, right? You end up with 4 or 5 by the time you're done with real estate investing. But so guys, this has been the Deal Finders Club podcast. Again, our chance to just share experience with you, different ways that you can get started or build your business in real estate. If you need more information, you can check us out at dealfindersclub.com. You can go there. We have all of our links for the YouTube channel, this podcast, everything else. And again, come back, see us on the next one, because we're going to dive into more ways to get you started and build businesses in real estate. So we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the REI Deal Finders podcast. You can find out more and apply to be a part of the REI Deal Finder community at reidealfinders.club.